Srila Prabhupada Thakur ki jai, Gaudiya Vaishnavindra ki jai, Swami Vivekananda Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You want to start? You can start reading the verse for anyone to chant. Vasudev, you can read from the board so that everyone can chant the verse. And purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and unfortunately I have a body produced from yours. I am very much ashamed of our bodily relationship, and I condemn myself because my body is contaminated by a relationship with a person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the greatest personality. Purport. Lord Shiva is the greatest of all devotees of Lord Vishnu. It is stated, Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of all devotees of Lord Vishnu. In the previous verse, Sati has described that Lord Shiva is always in a transcendental position because he is situated in pure Vasudev. Vasudev is that state from which Krishna Vasudeva is born. So, Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna, and Sati's behavior is exemplary because no one could tolerate blasphemy against Lord Vishnu or his devotee. Sati is aggrieved not for her personal association with Lord Shiva, but because her body is related with that of Daksha, who is an offender at Lord Shiva's lotus feet. She feels herself to be condemned because of the body given by her father, Daksha. Naitena dehena hore grata gaso dehod bhavinalam alam kujanmana vrida mama bhut kujana prasangatas torjanma digyo Matam avadya krit. Please repeat this translation. You are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. And unfortunately, I have a body produced from yours. I am very much ashamed of our bodily relationship. And I condemn myself because my body is contaminated by a relationship with a person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the greatest personality. Mukam karoti bachalam mangam langayate garim yat kripatatam bande Sri Gurundinataranam. So, Sati is setting a severe example in the face of the offense of her father, she feels that it is necessary for her to give up her body. Now, this example is a lesson to us, not a lesson that we necessarily have to follow ourselves. Of course, there is a certain context in this example. So the context is within the karma kanda conception. In karma kanda conception, then bodily relationships, they are very prominent, and karma, our work in this body, is has the central importance in karma kanda. So in that context then, such an offense committed by one's father or some other one who is closely related to us, bodily, in a bodily sense related to us, such an offense against Lord Shiva then certainly does contaminate everyone by this bodily relationship. Since karma kanda conception is bodily, so that means all karma, all work that we may be doing, good work, will be spoiled by the offense of another with whom we have a bodily relationship. So Vedic culture, because as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye, he says that the majority of the population, and remember he's speaking 5,000 years ago, so the majority of the population, even in Vedic culture, is not searching for spiritual perfection. Rather, they're simply working in this body to improve their material position as much as possible in this life and in the next. So even under the shelter of the Vedas, this is going on. As one can see in India today, one goes to India today, so there are millions and millions of Hindus, hundreds and millions of people who swear to the Hindu religion. And that means they respect the Vedas, that means they are trying to follow the Vedas. But generally, one sees that their aim in following the Vedas, in performing their duty, the aim is still towards sense gratification in this body. Are trying to maximize the enjoyment of this body with the calculation also for the next life, that my work now here, it will be as enjoyable as it can be now, and also will lead me to heaven or some nice position in the next life. You see? So this is in practically at any time, except in the Satya Yuga, where, as Prabhupada explained, then 90% of the population is inclined to spiritual life, to the actual cultivation of God consciousness. But in any other age, then this is the general trend. This becomes the general trend, the bodily conception. So since most people, in most of the time, are in this conception, karma kanda conception, therefore Sati's example here is most instructive to them, that if one commits an offense, or someone who is associated with us through the body commits such an offense, Vaishnava aparadha, then it is polluting everything. polluting the people, all the persons connected with that offender. So sati is showing a very severe, strict example in deciding, now I will give up this body. I cannot sustain this body any longer. But when we come out of this karma kanda field, consciousness, and come into bhakti, then there is another measure that is to be taken. So we see in the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, one personality, Subudhi Roy. So Subudhi Roy, he had been entrusted with Nawab Hussain Shah, a Muslim a prince. He had been entrusted with his upbringing. And so to show him the right path, sometimes Subudhi Roy was chastising him, chastising the boy. And even to the point where he was beating him with a stick. And so this left a mark on his body, on the body of Nawab Hussain Shah. So after the Nawab grew up and ascended to the throne, then his wife, the Begum as they call, the Muslim princess, or Muslim queen or royal lady, Begum. So she noticed on the body of her husband, mark, scar. And she inquired, what is this? And so he explained, oh, when I was a boy, Subudhi Roy, who was taking care of me, who was I was his ward, he was my guardian. So he, because I made some mistake, he chastised me, and beat me, and left this mark on my body. So she was very intolerant of that. How could this be done to my husband? You are the king. You are so powerful and important. So she desired that this Subudhi Roy then be put to death. So Nawab Hussain Shah, he actually felt grateful to Subudhi Roy. He could understand that sometimes chastisement has to be a little harsh in order that the young person get the right lesson. And he felt that this was just. See, now I am able to occupy this position and do my duty nicely because of the training I got from Subudhi Roy, so he's not at fault. So he tried to tell his wife, don't be so severe with him. But she insisted, well, if you don't kill him, if you don't execute him, then at least make him into a Muslim. This will be, in terms of his Hindu culture, then as good as death. So, as Prabhupada explains, in those days, it was very easy to make someone lose his standing in the Hindu society. Muslim, after eating, would wash his hands and he could sprinkle the wash water from his fingers on someone, some Hindu, and just the touch of that water would be considered to have broken this person's caste, as they said. And then he would have to, because then he would be rejected. The other Hindus would say, no, you have become polluted, we cannot associate with you anymore. So then he would be forced to become Muslim, to change his religion and his dress and his culture. So this was done to, this is what happened. Nawab Hussain Shah, he sprinkled the wash water from his hand upon Subudhi Roy. And then Subudhi Roy, he didn't know what to do. So he went to some Brahmins and said, so this is what has happened. This Nawab with whom I have a relationship, he has sprinkled this water on me from his after washing his hands, after eating, what is my position? And these Brahmins, they were first-class Smarta Brahmins. This means they are locked in the karma kanda conception. So they told him, there is only one way to become relieved of this sin, of this pollution. You have to drink boiling hot ghee. You see? You can imagine we have in the kitchen wok with ghee when we're cooking pakoras or something. So what it would be like to drink, to tip the wok into, so that the ghee would pour into our mouth. It would be so, yes, it would be hellish and it would be fatal. So this is how they instructed him. And this is the way it used to be. This is actually, Prabhupada said, this is actually the reason why now in India today there are so many Muslims. Because the Brahmins who are guiding the Hindus, they were giving such kind of instructions. You see, the only way to overcome this pollution is to drink hot ghee. So that only leaves for a sane person. Of course, one can do that, but not many people are going to do that. So for a sane person, the only other alternative is just to become Muslim, you see. So because they were so rigid, foolishly rigid, therefore many Hindus, unfortunate Hindus, who had come in contact in this way with Islamic society, they became Muslims. They felt they had no shelter in the Hindu society. So Suburi Roy, he wasn't sure, he wasn't convinced that this was a good instruction. So he then asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what should I do? And Mahaprabhu told him, you go to Vrindavan Dham and you stay there. And you simply sit down and chant Hare Krishna. Just occupy your full time with chanting the holy name of the Lord. So this is a transcendental solution to the question of bodily pollution. The transcendental solution, the bhakti solution, takes us out of the bodily conception. After all, we are actually not the body. And to think that I am this body, to think either mangal or amangal, that this body is pure, very nice, like a nice Brahmin's body. In India, there's a community of Brahmanas, Gaur Saraswat, so that's the highest class. So if someone born in Gaur Saraswat family is thinking, yes, I have such a nice body, so pure, so sattvic. So this is Maya. You see, that's what it is, it's Maya. And conversely, if someone is thinking, oh, my body is so polluted and nasty and dirty and horrible, and I'm so low, but this is also Maya. This is also not Atma Tattva. This is not the truth of the self, not the truth of who that person really is. We are spirit soul. So as long as we're in this, locked up in this bodily conception of life, then naturally, of course, such considerations as being polluted due to the offense of another one to whom this body is related, then naturally that will come upon us. Why? Because we are in the bodily conception. So the bhakti solution is understand what you really are and act accordingly. So therefore Mahaprabhu said, go to Vrindavan Dham, sit down there and simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because that is, to do that means to take up one's spiritual position, spiritual identity, act as spirit soul. And Krishna goes to great length in Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, to explain to Arjuna that nothing material can touch the spirit soul. This is the whole point of saying that when Krishna is saying, water will not moisten the soul, or fire will not burn the soul, or wind will not wither the soul. He is also, in this, by speaking in this way, he is referring to the different astras that Kshatriyas would use at that time. You can see in Krishna book or reading Mahabharata that they had Vayu Astra, wind weapon, or Agni Astra, fire weapon, or the water weapon. But Krishna is telling Arjuna that these elemental weapons, elemental powers, they cannot touch the soul. So this pollution, this contamination under discussion here is all pertaining to the body and to the elements, material elements, but the soul is beyond that. So one should come to that platform, and that is possible through the process of bhakti yoga. Any questions? Yes, in the back. Well, the two of you can decide who goes first. I'm not going to get into this. Huh? Well, I explained. You didn't hear? You must have been somewhere else in your mind. In the very beginning I explained she's setting an example. And who is she setting the example for? Do you remember what I said? See, it helps to listen in the class. That answers so many of your questions if you just listen.
Those who are practicing karma yoga.
What?
Those who are practicing karma yoga.
Yes, those who are in the karma conception, which means most people. This is the lesson she said. If you are in bodily concept of life, acting on that platform, which is what they do in karma kanda, then you become polluted by such kind of thing. If a relative commits, it's so serious, such an offense, that you become polluted, and so she's showing the only way out, give up your body. But that's in that consciousness. But you didn't hear this. Yes. It was all explained. So who's next?
I was reading in the Mahabharata the glorification of Vyasadeva, Mahadev. He was saying he's everything, he's the soul of the universe, he's the doer of all the activity in the universe, he's one. So then, if he's just speaking about the linga, then it's not. I was wondering who he was. How to understand this? Because it seems he's speaking about Vishnu, but he's speaking to God and Shiva.
Well, Lord Shiva, the ultimate form of Lord Shiva, Sadashiva. So, as Srila Prabhupada himself said, that he is actually Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu and Sadashiva are the same personality. But Sadashiva is Mahavishnu in a particular role. And that is as he's acting as the direct husband or direct consort of the material energy. So when Mahavishnu, he opens his eyes, because Mahavishnu, generally his eyes are shut. He's in Yoga Nidra, but he opens his eyes to glance at Durga Devi. And by that act of glancing, then manifesting from him, is described in Brahma Samhita is a halo, a Jyotirlinga. So that is manifesting from him. That is Sadashiva. It has no other source than him. So that is an aspect of him who becomes directly the consort or the husband of Durga and impregnates in her all the living entities. So he is called Sadashiva, but he is Mahavishnu. So therefore, the Brahma Samhita explains it with that clear example. Chiram Dadi Vikara Vishesh Yogat Sanjayate Nihita Tagastiyato. You start with milk, that is Vishnu Tattva. And from milk we get yogurt, so that is the Shiva Tattva. So the Shiva Tattva has no other origin than milk. But there's still a difference. They're the same, but there's difference in that from yogurt you cannot get milk again. So from Vishnu comes Shiva, but from Shiva doesn't come Vishnu. So in that sense we understand there's oneness and difference between them. But because Lord Shiva has his origin is in Mahavishnu, therefore all the praises that apply to Mahavishnu also apply to Lord Shiva. It's just that Lord Shiva's activities, whatever he's doing, his influence, is defined in terms of the tamoguna. You see, whereas Lord Vishnu is transcendental to the modes of nature. Just like he's all powerful, Lord Shiva is all powerful, Lord Vishnu is all powerful. But Lord Shiva's, that power of Lord Shiva is understood at the time of devastation. He destroys everything. That's how his power is shown. But Lord Vishnu, he creates, he maintains, he destroys. All three things have their origin in him, all three phases of time. So, anything else? Yes?
Regarding Vaishnava aparadha, sometimes newer devotees, because of rigidity or some hard-heartedness, they make offenses to more advanced devotees. And because of some limited understanding, how is one supposed to react in such a situation?
Well, we have to help the younger devotees understand that this harshness is not good. Srila Prabhupada, he was very clear about that this tendency to become, like you said, rigid or harsh, or I'm trying to remember. Prabhupada used a certain term. I just don't remember it now, but it's something like that. To be hard. That this is not a Vaishnava nature. Vaishnava can be hard when necessary, but generally Vaishnava is soft, and particularly towards one's superiors. One should not be hard. So if this is a habit from, we bring with us from our material background, this harshness, tendency to bark, you see, like a dog. When a dog is disturbed, it barks, you see, for any reason. Dog, whether it's good or not good, dog, that's his nature, he barks. So this is contrary to the Vaishnava etiquette and culture and nature. And so if one acts like that, he will surely make offenses and fall down. So we have to instruct them not to be that way. Anything else? Yes?
You're speaking about the Agni weapons and the wind weapons. And I was reading one comment in the Mahabharata, Kangui was saying that these are to living persons.
Yeah.
It's only the program.
Huh?
You see, because in other places he describes that these weapons, it was an ordinary material thing, and then he invested it with some mantra, and then it became God's power. So it seems to be two.
Well, the mantra is invoking the presence of a personality. Right. In Vedic science, everything is personal. So the power of wind, that's a person, named Vayu. The power of fire, that's a person, Agni. So when you chant a mantra, you are invoking the power of that person, or an expansion of that person, because they're, like it is said, there are 49 forms of Agni and so on. And so then that potency becomes manifest in the weapon by the grace of that person. Yes?
You said that this karma kanda is for those who are on the lower level, but still it seems that all these rules and regulations of karma kanda are much more complex than those of bhakti.
Yes, obviously.
So why is this, if it's for those on the lower level, why?
Well, lower higher is not to be determined by complexity. The many more rules and regulations are needed to keep the people in the bodily conception in order, to keep them like in society today. They have so many laws for everything, you see. Now, we wouldn't expect in ISKCON to have so many laws for every nuance of behavior, controlling, because we expect that devotees are naturally, by their own nature, well behaved. But the karmis, they have, for example, like laws about how to walk your dog. So why would we have to have such a kind of rule in ISKCON? Because devotees don't keep dogs, you see. We're not going to be inspecting how the devotees are taking care of their dogs and where they're letting them pass stool and this and that. For that they have rules, and if you break them, you get a fine. And but this is not the culture of devotees, you see. So there's so many things like that. And so it's obvious. There must be more rules for those who are less controlled. In the back, you had another question.
Referring to one previous person that shows speaking about something, you said that she's equal with Gayatri.
She's what?
She's equal to Gayatri.
Equal to Gayatri.
That's what you said. How to understand this?
That means she's Shakti. Gayatri is Shakti. There are these different potencies of the Lord that manifest in different forms in this world, like Gayatri, like Gangama. And they're all Shakti, the energy of Krishna. So that's the meaning. Yes?
In material science nowadays they describe matter as waves, also, or particles. So is there some, do we also, is there something like that in our scripture? Also matter waves, how to understand it?
Well, everything, the material creation is starting off as shabda, sound. So sound moves as a wave. But from out of the wave of sound, the shabda, is arising the material elements one after the other. And so these elements, grosser elements, have this aspect of particles also. So that is there. The scientists have just come to that point to understand that the finest, the most subtle feature of matter is vibration. So the Vedas are saying the same thing, Shabda. But the Vedas can tell us from where this vibration is coming and also what it says, what is the meaning of the vibration, because in this vibration there is an order. There is an order. The background of this material world is the order of the Lord. This is explained by Krishna in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That order is that we are to do sacrifice. That is the purpose, the meaning of this life. But the scientists don't know that. So their knowledge is not complete and therefore not perfect. Yes?
What do you mean with vibration? You know, wave like this?
Yes, wave. Wave is vibration. Vibration is mapped as a wave. Whether it's a sound vibration or electric vibration, electronic vibration, like an oscilloscope. This is a device that maps electronic waves, and you can see it. It looks like a wave, but it's not sound, that's vibration. So, there are different types of sound, this is explained in the Vedas. Anahata, unstruck sound. So this is subtle sound, sound in ether that you do not hear. It's a vibration in ether that you don't hear. And then there's the sound that you hear, that is actually what is happening, as explained today. The vibration ether is moving air, and it's the air that's moving the organs inside the ear, and that's why we can hear it. So that's a certain type of sound that travels through the air. We speak, it passes through the air, and because of the air element we can hear with these ears. But your thoughts are also vibration. That is sound, pure vibration in ether, thought. You can't hear that, but it is still vibration. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.